Thank you for joining us. I'm Rachel Branning. A guilty verdict tonight for an Amherst County man charged with killing his wife. The jury found Frederick Wigington guilty of first-degree murder and Elsie Wigington's death. The man accused of killing a Danville gas station owner faced a judge this morning asking for bond. It's been a beautiful day here in Lynchburg, but man, has it been hot. We go first to meteorologist Will Stafford. Will, can we expect this sunny weather to stick around? Take a look here. This is the actual seismogram from the show. Dr. Chapman says this smaller quake right here is likely the beginning of the show when Metallica teased the crowd, playing just a clip of Enter Sandman. But this extended one right over here is what everyone was waiting for in the encore when Metallica finally played the song, shaking the stands and making an earthly impact. Money is on everyone's minds as we see rising prices both here in Virginia and across the country. But a new report from the University of Virginia's Cooper Center for Public Service says unemployment may be on the rise too. A Hill City business is getting some nationwide attention. Taco Jesus on Bedford Avenue in Lynchburg is featured in a new Amazon documentary called Slice of Life, The American Dream in Former Pizza Huts. This morning, dozens of people set sail from Percival's Island for the 40th annual James River Bateau Festival. Henry, Carol, Grayson, they all have more than 2,000 outages reported. Right now in our area, Franklin County is the hardest hit with 11,000 people there without power. Cybersecurity experts say the political response to the signal leak is threatening national security. Some argue an urgent investigation is needed to determine the wider impact after President Trump's foreign policy team accidentally included a journalist on their Signal group chat. The race for Virginia's next governor is heating up. According to the Virginia Public Access Project, right now, former U.S. Representative Abigail Spanberger is the only Democrat with her hat in the ring for the governor's mansion. When it comes to Republicans, it appears that Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears is the frontrunner, but former state senator Amanda Chase, former state delegate Dave LaRocque, and Merle Rutledge are all hoping to have their names on the ballot as well. Danville police also arrested a man they think was Lowen's accomplice, Keontae Tarpley. Warrants show Tarpley initially denied knowing where Lowen was, but investigators found text messages showing that Tarpley was trying to hide the clothes Lowen had been wearing. President Trump says he's 100% sure his administration can make a trade deal with the European Union by the end of his 90-day pause on the 20% tariffs he had imposed on them. Downtown Lynchburg officially has a new playground just in time for summer. City leaders cut the ribbon today and officially opened up the Kiwanis Playground at Riverfront Park. In the last year, LCS has really seen its fair share of turnover. In October, former Superintendent Dr. Crystal Edwards retired after 6 years in that role. That announcement came in the middle of the school year, with Edwards saying that she needed to focus on family. After her surprising exit, interim superintendent Dr. Ben Copeland stepped in to finish out the school year. A local library is also grappling with potential DOGE cuts that could impact their online services. Library officials say that without federal funding, they'll be forced to foot that bill. Abigail Spanberger has raised almost $23 million. That's more than double what Republican Winsome Earl Sears has raised. Governor Youngkin signed off on a state budget, and tonight we're taking a closer look. It includes $900 million in cuts. 2/3 of those are for colleges. Blacksburg is getting ready to rock. Metallica's making their way to Virginia Tech on Wednesday. ABC 13's Rachel Tillepaugh shows us the preparations going on right now for this epic night. Today's the kickoff to a jam-packed race weekend at Martinsville Speedway. Fans are speeding there to enjoy races, events, and so much more. Included in the new state budget are funds to help keep you safe this summer. Smith Mountain Lake and other inland waterways will be getting money to help them test the waters. Folks in Danville will have to wait a little bit longer to enjoy a new park coming to their downtown. Riverfront Park was initially scheduled to open at the end of March, but construction has been hit with yet another delay. Tonight we have a big birthday shout out from all of us here at WSCT. Gladys Martin turned 100 years old. Monica and Gary Martin sent us these pictures through Chime In. Gladys, happy birthday from all of us here at the station. We hope your day was so special, and I want your tips on how to stay this beautiful at 100 years old. They'll be available nationwide on June 17th.
Chicken strips, you're talking to that man right there.
What day is it? Oh,
June 17th.
Put the reminder in your phone now.
Sounds pretty good. Chocolate ice cream was created in 1775, and believe it or not, it was actually used as a remedy to treat or cure various medical conditions.
That's what I always say. Chocolate ice cream will cure anything.
Yeah, a bowl of ice cream can fix any
Never a
issue.
bad day for that. Never.
Thanks for watching tonight. So if you've got some change to spare, the auction runs through June 24th. And George, you recognize the vest immediately.
Yeah, you didn't even have to put up, I guess as an 80s child, you didn't even have to say what movie that was from. You just know. That one's big time.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you have a good night. Thank you for joining us tonight at 7. I'm Rachel Branning. A woman is in custody and a man is on the run after a car chase in Henry County. Brandy Fazell faces 5 charges, including drug possession and failure to stop for law enforcement, while authorities are still looking for James Schaefer, who's won on a pair of drug possession charges. The Henry County Sheriff's Office says this all stems from an attempted traffic stop yesterday in Bassett. Deputies tried to pull over a pickup truck on Stones Dairy Road when the driver, Fazell, didn't stop. Instead, the truck led officers on a nearly 2-mile low-speed chase. The vehicle eventually stopped on Jarrett Drive where Fazell was arrested. Schaefer, the front seat passenger, fled on foot and is still at large. If you know where he may be, you're asked to contact law enforcement immediately. And an important reminder about rabies. Today, the Central Virginia Health District announced that a stray cat tested positive for the disease. It attacked a woman on Early Street near Hollands Mill Road in Lynchburg on Tuesday. VDH says it's important to get your pets vaccinated. They say you should also try to avoid contact with stray animals. And a tragic reminder tonight, if you plan to visit Smith Mountain Lake this summer, a Roanoke man identified as 54-year-old James Lavender jumped in for a swim and never came back up. It happened on the southern edge of the lake yesterday, just outside of Penhook. ABC 13's Cherise Hoffman shares the impact this drowning has on lake goers. Like Cherise mentioned, that tragic accident took place on the southern edge of Smith Mountain Lake, just off of 3 Point Isle Drive. First responders got the call around 3:30 yesterday afternoon, and then just 30 minutes later, they were called to the other side of the lake at the Halesford Bridge in Bridgewater. They say someone jumped off of the bridge at 4 p.m. That person was taken to the hospital, and we're still working to find out how they're doing. The former lead singer of the Christian band Newsboys has admitted to allegations of drug and alcohol abuse and sexual assault. In an Instagram post yesterday, Michael Tate wrote in part, quote, "While I might dispute certain details in the accusations against me, I do not dispute the substance of them." This comes 6 days after the Roy's Report, a Christian investigative outlet, published a bombshell article accusing Tate of grooming, sexual assault, and substance abuse. Tate got his start at Liberty University, where he founded the Grammy-winning band DC Talk with 2 Liberty classmates. Some of the Marines deployed to Los Angeles are expected to begin operations soon. President Trump sent them there in support of National Guard troops stationed at federal buildings in the city where demonstrations are happening over immigration enforcement operations. And some of our local lawmakers say that's setting a dangerous precedent. Democratic Senator Tim Kaine is calling the Trump administration's move unnecessary. He says this action shouldn't have been taken, and he believes it's illegal. Kaine says the National Guard is meant to help provide needed security when it's asked for, not like in this situation when it was an executive decision without a request from the state. He acknowledges that even at the most peaceful protests, there could be a bad apple in the mix, but he says deploying troops isn't the answer. We reached out to all of our federal Republican lawmakers, Representatives Morgan Griffith, John McGuire, and Ben Cline for comment, but we haven't heard back. Representative Cline did post to X saying in part, quote, "I fully support President Trump's decision to send in the National Guard. It's time to restore order and hold those responsible for these attacks accountable." Well, a local favorite at Riverside Park in Lynchburg will be closed for the foreseeable future. What's behind this breakground delay?
Tonight, only on ABC 13, we're hearing his version of the truth from behind bars.
Our cameras were not allowed into the Lynchburg Detention Center, but ABC 13's Rachel Branning shares his story through a jail phone.
Michael Perry has spent more than 500 days behind bars awaiting trial. He's charged with the August 2023 murder of his estranged wife, Avril Hooks.
Not a day goes by without me thinking about my wife and our son. Not a day goes by without me missing them both.
Perry says at the start, he and Avril had a picture-perfect love story.
We were pretty much inseparable.
She was just smitten.
Avril's mom, Ashley Pittman, declined an interview with me because the trial is coming up soon. But in our past interviews, she agreed.
She was so captivated by him.
It wasn't long before the couple got married and had a son. but their story turned into a nightmare.
They always had heated fights.
Every relationship has its problems, like especially when you're married.
Both Perry and Pittman say those fights came to a boiling point on the night of July 4th. Perry says Avril was upset that he had to go to work.
She ended up hitting me and punching me, and she ended up grabbing me, holding on to me.
Did you ever react violently when you say Avril punched or hit you?
No, I kind of just stood there. I was never a primary aggressor or like a woman abuser or anything like that.
Perry and Pittman say police responded, but the couple had stopped fighting when they got there. But they have two different stories.
The baby had a mark on his chest when she had grabbed him. I believe he had a mark on his head as well.
It was the first time that Avril felt Michael could potentially hurt the baby during a fight.
That night, Avril took out an emergency protective order against Perry.
She had to love something in this world more than Michael to leave Michael, and it was that baby.
A later request to extend the protective order was denied by the court because the two had stayed in contact. That was just over a month before she went missing.
And Avril said, "Mama, how are we going to stay safe now?"
The night that she went.
Perry wouldn't speak about the night she disappeared.
What happened that night? Where were you? What were you doing?
So I will say this. I will explain all of that when I go to trial, and I'm going to testify. There's no way that I'm not going to testify. I have to. I can't let this narrative go unaddressed.
The night Avril went missing, Pittman says she knew something was wrong, so she called Perry.
You know something, you know where she's at, you know where you last saw her.
Pittman says she had a gut feeling that he was involved, but Perry posted this to Facebook, saying he was constantly searching for her. A week after her disappearance, Avril's body was found in a wooded area of Amherst County. Police took Perry into custody shortly after. He's maintained his innocence from the start. And that's not changing now.
I know if I were to explain what happened from the beginning, I wouldn't even be sitting in jail right now. But everyone reacts differently to certain situations.
Perry goes to trial soon, and he claims investigators have it wrong.
I was there, and I know what happened.
What do you believe happened?
It was another situation. She wasn't murdered. She was not murdered.
What did you do?
Pittman says since that August night, she's been forced to wonder what happened.
When you look at what you do know, and you can't help what you don't know, but you have to know. There's got to be a time where I get to know.
Perry thinks he'll be acquitted, but even then, he says it would feel like a loss.
I really, really, really miss her. I really miss her. I would do anything to be able to have her back in our lives again.
The medical examiner ruled Avril's cause of death as undetermined, meaning they can't say whether she died on accident or if it was a homicide. Perry says when he goes to trial, he plans to share every detail of that deadly August night. Avril's family tells me that they just want justice for their daughter. Back to you.
We have told you how numerous folks who rely on the benefits to feed their families are now left with nothing after scammers drained their EBT cards.
ABC 13's Rachel Branning has been working to get you answers and shows us how a gap in the law is a driving force for thieves.
Fraudulent charges on EBT cards have left dozens of victims without their SNAP benefits for the month.
It's very hard without them to buy food.
Jeremy White, a Lynchburg attorney who specializes in protecting consumers, says this scam thrives because of a loophole. Credit and debit cards have protections for fraudulent charges, but EBTs don't.
It's that gap in the federal law that specifically says, under the Electronic Funds Transfer Act, that any benefits issued by state and local governments are not protected.
Before December of last year, stolen benefits were replaced through the Farm Bill. That program ended, and now it's up to the states. But the Virginia Department of Social Services tells me that the Commonwealth doesn't have the funds to replace stolen benefits.
Scammers will find the loophole. They know where they can get away with things. Like, this is the new shoplifting.
I took those concerns to our federal lawmakers.
What can be done to close that gap, and what are you doing to help those people that are affected by this?
Once Republicans won both houses, they decided we don't want to negotiate with Democrats. We'll do the Farm Bill next year. And so they left that undone, and the program to protect people from fraud expired. We need to get the Farm Bill done.
There should be some oversight on that program for sure, because that's not fair to the folks that need that support. And so we're looking for waste, fraud, and abuse.
White says until lawmakers close the gap, these scams will continue.
If it's another 3 or 4 or 5 years of legislative action, the families in the most need are going to get hit the hardest.
According to the Virginia Department of Social Services, $9 million in food stamps were stolen last year. I have filed a request through the Freedom of Information Act for this year's data, and I'm still waiting for the results. Back to you.
Diving in, ABC 13 is investigating the water quality at local spray pads. A mother claims that her kids got sick after a day of summer fun.
ABC 13's RLBranning investigates if that water is being properly treated and is safe for your family.
Splash pads are a popular summer activity for kids, but one mom says their day of fun at the Riverside Spray Ground in Lynchburg landed them at the doctor.
She had an ear infection, sore throat, runny nose, throwing up, had diarrhea, fever of 104. He didn't eat for about 2 or 3 days.
Nicole Hughley says her kids were so sick, she took them to get checked out.
So I took them to the doctor, and they said they had a viral infection. They said that it could be something that was in the water. They had no contact with anybody that was sick, and then we came out here and, being involved with water, you never know what might be going through it. You don't know how it's processed, how it's recycled.
I collected samples to find out what may be in the water. I went to 3 splash pads in the area, Lynchburg, Alta Vista, and Danville. I took those water samples to Tom Shahady, an environmental scientist at the University of Lynchburg.
Put the enzyme in and then close the bottle and shake it.
Shahady tested for 2 types of bacteria, E. coli and fecal coliform.
It should not have any bacteria. This test should be 0.
He incubated the samples.
So we're then going to incubate them in here.
After 24 hours, he looked at the number of bacteria in the water. 2 splash pads came back clear, Alta Vista and Danville.
That is a very good scenario where we want the chlorine to effectively kill the bacteria, and we're getting that.
But the Riverside Spray Ground in Lynchburg made him look twice. Shahady says it tested positive for E. coli.
A general environmental indicator species, which is pretty specific to these intestinal tract bacteria, which then carry pathogens.
He says it also tested positive for fecal coliform, a bacteria found in the feces of warm-blooded mammals.
That is a concern. So that means that while you're in that water, as fecal contamination is occurring, it's not being disinfected. And so then you are then getting it on you, and the concern is in your eyes, in your mouth, in your nose, your ears. 37.
Shahady says his test is very accurate and would not show a false positive result.
I'm glad I definitely...
Hughley says she's not surprised to hear what was found in the water.
That right there proves that the water is not treated like it should be. And that's clearly probably where my children picked up the bacteria. And it could have gotten a lot worse.
I reached out to Lynchburg Parks and Recreation, which oversees the Riverside Spray Ground. They declined an interview on camera, but did speak to me over the phone. I asked about their process for cleaning the water. They say their spray ground has a computer and sensors that test the water continuously. That computer releases chemicals to sanitize the water when needed. They tell me they also test the water by hand 4 times each day and make adjustments. I shared the results with Parks and Rec that the test found both E. coli and fecal coliform bacteria in the water. They say that because of their chemical process and the amount of chlorine used, they're confident they're able to get rid of harmful bacteria. The city says the safety and well-being of their residents is their #1 concern, and they hope their outdoor water amenities are safe for families to enjoy.
Don't swallow the water.
I reached out to the Centers for Disease Control to find out what you can do to help protect your kids. They say even with the right precautions, there's a chance of sickness in many water activities, but parents can help minimize the danger.
They should stay out of the water if you're sick with diarrhea. Shower before getting in the water to rinse those germs off that can cause the disinfectant to deplete. and take kids on bathroom breaks or check diapers every hour.